Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a video about Etsy, and this is something I've had general questions on for a little while now. So a couple of weeks ago I just checked on Twitter and Instagram to see if you all had any specific questions related to Etsy and what you wanted me to cover in a video. And a lot of you sent questions in. Thank you so much to everybody who did, and I'm going to do my best to get through all of them. So yeah, let's go ahead and just jump right in. So Lumo Shanna asks, when did you open your Etsy shop and why did you decide to open it at that particular time? So I started on Etsy in late summer 2013, and I decided to open the shop because I had already been on Tumblr for a few months and been posting work pretty regularly since the end of 2012. And I had been getting more and more questions about requests from people who wanted to buy prints. And I looked into some other options, including like Society6 and Redbubble. And personally for me, I just felt like I wanted to have that individual connection, I guess, with each print and with each order. And I like the process of making prints. I like the process of signing them and sending them to a person. I don't know, it just feels more human to me. So that is why I decided to start on Etsy. H Not Grass asks, I'm curious about the whole original art to print process. What's the best way to make prints of originals to ensure high quality products for your clients? For example, online print sources versus local print shops, and do you take photos in RAW to get the highest quality prints? So the best way to reproduce your artwork really depends on the type of artwork that you're trying to reproduce. So if your work is, in general, if it's smaller than like 18 by 24 inches, you should be able to scan it just on the kind of scanner that I have, which is an Epson Perfection V370. And I have a whole video on how I use it, and I will link that somewhere on the screen here. Yay! Yeah, so anyway, if your work is under 18 by 24, you should be able to scan it. Using that kind of scanner or similar scanner. You'll have to do it in batches, like, one corner at a time kind of, and weave it together, which I also go over in the video. But yeah, that would still be my pick for the best way to reproduce work up to that size. But if it's much larger than that, like if it's, I don't know, if it's significantly larger than that, or if it's not flat, or if it has metallic elements, there are a number of reasons why you might not want to use a scanner. Then yes, shooting in RAW would be best, and it would also be really good to use a tripod and to have the work mounted. There are tons of really great videos about shooting artwork for reproduction that are on YouTube. I will see if I can find a few and leave the links in the description box. I'm primarily an illustrator, and I feel like I'm still learning about, I'm totally still learning about photography. I barely know enough to keep my head above water, so I don't want to give too much specific advice on photography beyond saying, yes, look at those videos, use a tripod, and try to shoot in natural light if possible. So next question, I'm a god in nursery decor? I'm a go day in nursery decor? I don't know, person, you know who you are. Yes, so this person says, definitely would like to know your process for making your art prints. So all of my Etsy orders ship on Fridays. I used to ship kind of like as they came in, which would mean that I was making prints as they came in, which lately has meant that I was doing it like late at night, almost every day, kind of frantically trying to get it ready. So I've just transitioned to doing a weekly, one weekly ship. So that's on Fridays, which means that on Thursdays, I spend a chunk of the day preparing the prints. So to do that, I first log into Etsy and I look at what has been ordered that week, and then I pull up the original Pixelmator files for all of those illustrations and do a fresh export of the printable version. And the reason I do that is because my printer actually works best working from a JPEG. And if you store a JPEG and you're repeatedly opening and closing it, opening and closing it, it will reduce the file quality over time because of the compression. So it's best to just do a fresh, or I feel like it's best for me to just do a fresh export every time. So that is what I do. Once I have all the files ready to go, then I will hook up the printer and get that turned on. And then I also have to prep my paper. So I've mentioned before that I use pretty much exclusively Moab Entrada rag. And I use the Bright version 300 GSM. All of the info will be in the description box. Yes, and I use that paper because I really like it the best out of all the kinds that I have tried. Some of that has to do with the kind of printer that I have and the way that my work looks and the way that I want it to look when it's reproduced. So you may also like that paper, or if your work has a really different look and feel, you might prefer something else. So choosing paper is definitely something that has some trial and error, but that is what I have landed on for the type of paper that I like to use. And I order it in 2 sizes. I get the 11 by 17 and the 8.5 by 11, which means that since all of the prints in my shop are either 11 by 14, 8 by 10, or 5 by 7 inches, that I have to hand cut each piece of paper. And to do that, I use this little paper cutter over here, which is much faster than doing an X-Acto. I know there's like the slidable paper cutters too, but I just like this chopping kind because that's what I had in art school, and it feels like really intense and dangerous when I'm chopping a bunch of paper and I like might accidentally cut off my finger or something. So, you know, I like to live on the edge. So once the paper is cut and ready to go, I put it into the printer, turn on the printer, and initiate print. The settings will be different depending on your work, and even for me, they're different depending on the specific piece that I'm printing. So I'm not going to get into the exact settings that I use, but I will just say that that is something that has taken a lot of experimentation and trial and error for me, and it probably will for you too, depending on how you're printing your work, what your work is like, all kinds of different variables. Once I make a print, I always let it sit for 24 hours. The ink and paper combination that I use is supposedly instantly dry, but I don't really trust that, and I really just would rather not even worry about it. So I like to set them out and let them dry for a full 24 hours before I package them. Yeah, and then after that's done, of course, then I'll sign them and whatever. Liz LaPointe Art asks, do you have a P.O. box so that you have a business address? Also, do you find that you get orders from people who just come across your shop on Etsy, or is it mostly people already familiar with your work? I don't have a P.O. box address yet, but oddly enough, I actually was just asking about it at the post office, and I got a little pamphlet with the how-to and the specifics on getting one. And the post offices around me actually all have waiting lists for the P.O. boxes. So I'm going to go ahead and hop on one of those just because I felt like it would be a good thing to have, especially as my business has grown. And as I have had like people wanting to send me stuff, it's nice to not have to like put your home address out there. But yeah, that's just something I'm thinking about now for the first time. And in regards to how people find my shop, I would say it's a mix of both. Initially, when I started on Etsy, I was expecting there to be a lot of people from Tumblr because that was where people had, I wasn't really doing anything besides Tumblr at that point. And that was where I had the requests for prints coming from. And there definitely were a few people that came from Tumblr, and some Tumblr staff people bought some prints for their homes and then for the Tumblr headquarters. But mostly I would say it was actually people just kind of organically from Etsy that found me in those first few months. And now as time has gone on, I feel like it's balanced out, and it's probably a pretty even mixture of both. Like there's more and more people from social, like especially like Instagram has had a lot of people. Instagram has been really good for generating business. But yeah, there still continue to be people who find me on Etsy, and that's the only way that they have ever interacted with my work. So yeah, kind of a mix. Ink Creatives asks, how do you like to ship your Etsy orders? For example, do you mail them flat or in a tube? Do you recommend using tracking when sending orders, or no? What is your favorite thing about owning an Etsy shop? So figuring out shipping was yet another process that took a lot of trial and error for me. I eventually landed on shipping flat using a cello sleeve in between 2 pieces of recycled cardboard and then inside a rigid mailer. I did try shipping some things in a tube, but that was like way back at the beginning, and I felt like I didn't like that because it really limited the thickness or the weight of the paper that I could use. Lighter weight papers rolled much better than the really heavyweight paper that I use. Paper that I use tends to crease or crimp if it's rolled. So yeah, for me, shipping flat works well, but again, that really would depend on the person, and it might not necessarily be the case for you with your artwork. Yeah, so in addition to the print itself that's, sandwiched in between the two cardboard pieces, I also like to include a postcard that has my thank you information on the back and just like encouraging people to leave an Etsy review if they think of it. And then also, of course, to get in touch with me if there ever were any problems or if they had questions about the work. Yeah, and then I put a business card in there as well. And then I will kind of like bundle all of that up with some cute little washi tape that I have, and I like to coordinate the washi tape to whatever print is inside. So that's just like another aspect of the personalization that I really enjoy, and a reason why I like having my own Etsy shop as opposed to like a Society 6, where I wouldn't have any part in that at all and wouldn't get to, do that fun packaging stuff. And in regards to the more logistical question about like how I do the shipping and whether I use tracking, Etsy makes that really easy. So all you have to do is just log in and go into your orders tab, and then there will be a little button that says print shipping label. And then you have to put in the weight, and I just use like a metric kitchen scale to determine the weight. So you put in the weight of the package and the dimensions of the package, and then Etsy calculates it all for you, and all Etsy orders come with a tracking number anyway, and it is automatically on the order. You don't have to type it out. The customer gets it, and yeah, that works really well. And in regards to my favorite thing about having an Etsy shop, I don't know, like I'm really bad at picking favorites for that kind of thing. One thing that comes to mind I can say that I really enjoy is when people post pictures of the prints once they've had them framed and they've hung them, either on Twitter or Instagram, and then tag me in it so that I can see it. It's just really fun to see how people put them, how people arrange them, how people hang them, how they include them in their homes. And for me, because one of the aspects of food illustration that I love is that personal aspect and how it's appealing to so many different people and can connect in a lot of different ways. I really like seeing how it connects for these individual people, and I love it too if people tell me like why they bought that particular food print, like this was something my grandmother cooked, or this was my boyfriend and I, our first meal together, those kinds of things. I just really love that. So if you have bought a print from me and you want to share it, please do, and make sure to tag me. I'm at Kendallin. And yeah, I often repost pictures as well when folks send those in. So yeah, that is something I like about Etsy. So next question, Kath Vason asks, do you do any kind of marketing for your Etsy shop aside from YouTube and Insta, or do you find that buyers organically find your shop? How important is consistency of style in a shop? So not really. I mean, I post regularly on Instagram, Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook. I include things like coupon codes, giveaways, and updates about new work there. So I mean, I guess that could be considered marketing, but like it's just kind of a part of how I share my process, and it's what I've done even before I was selling prints, when I was only selling originals. So yeah, I haven't really done much in the way of paid marketing. I know that Etsy has internal ads that you can pay for. I have no experience with that. Maybe they're good, maybe they're not. And then of course there's like Facebook ads and all that stuff. And then Etsy also has like treasuries and teams and things that you can do that supposedly provide free marketing. And I did try some treasuries initially when I very first started, but honestly it takes a ton of time, and I just felt like I would rather focus on sharing my process and like the work behind the work over putting together collections of other people's stuff. So yeah, I have heard that works well, but it wasn't something that I focused on. Yeah, and I do think I do think overall consistency of style is important. But of course, like anything, there are exceptions. So, maybe you have kind of like a quirky selection of things or some different types of things with maybe slightly different style going on. But like if you can have a cohesive look for your shop photography and your shop brand, that could kind of pull everything together. So yeah, I would say I think some amount of that is important, but like even in my shop, all of the images look the same, like they're all scanned images, but it's not all food illustration. So there's some nature illustration, botanical illustration. And in the past I've had like more objects as well. So I think having consistency is important, but I think that can be consistency in terms of the overall vibe of your shop, and rather than like you have to be selling the exact only one kind of thing, if that makes sense. All right, next question. Kara asks, how often should you update your shop with new products? Also, do you think it's okay to sell a wide variety of products in one shop, like ceramics, postcards, art prints, t-shirts, tote bags, etc.? So when I first got started, I updated really frequently, like once a week or maybe even every couple of days, because in addition to posting the work that I was actively creating at the time, I had this whole like backlog of work that had already been created that I wanted to post, that I wanted to list on Etsy. So I did it a lot initially, and now I probably do it like once a month. I'll take like whatever pieces I'm going to make prints out of once I've done the tests, the test prints that I mentioned earlier. And then I will list those in like one batch. And then of course you have like the relisting, because a product listing is active for, I think it's 3 months on Etsy. I don't remember if I said that already. But yeah, so you have the 3 months, and after that a product expires and you have to choose like whether you want to relist it or what. And so like at that time I'll often like take that opportunity to look through the listings and see, okay, what's doing well, what has sold, what's showing up in a lot of treasuries. And if something is like just really not performing after a couple of listings, like if I've had it on there for 6 or 9 months and it's not doing well, then I will seriously consider deactivating the listing, or I'll kind of like take a closer look at the listing to see if there's any way I can improve the title or the description or the tags or the photos, or, well, really not the photos because they're all the same on my Etsy shop. But yeah, I'll look and see if there's a way that I can improve it. But often I just end up deleting some things after they've had a run on the shop and not done very well. And I do think having a wide variety of things, of types of products in one shop, that's awesome. Like if that's what you want to do, that's really cool. But for me, I haven't done that because the more things you have, like it's just the more complicated it is to run that shop. So personally, I just have never felt like that was worthwhile. But if you're wanting to do that, or you're wanting to like invest the time in figuring out like how to do shirts and tote bags and all of that, like that's awesome. But you keep in mind that you will then have to also stock the shipping materials for all of those things, which may be different. And for me, like being in a small space, I knew I didn't want to have tons of different kinds of boxes and packaging. I wanted to just like keep it simple and only be shipping prints, only be shipping them flat. So you just kind of have to weigh what you want to do, how much time, how much resource you want to put into that. But if it works for you and you can keep the look cohesive, then yeah, that's great. I personally love looking at those kinds of Etsy shops. It's just not something that I've done. Diana Porter asks, how do I make my items searchable? I've already touched on some of this, but basically you want to have good product titles, solid listing descriptions, and well-researched product tags. So best way to do that is to try to imagine that you're the customer and try to think of like how you would search for your listing. So if what you sell, like me, is primarily food illustration, somebody might search food illustration, or they might search like strawberry drawing, or strawberry home decor, or that sort of thing. So if you try to imagine how the customer would search for you, that is going to help. Some people really like to have a bunch of keywords like right at the beginning of the listing, because that sometimes can make the listing rank higher. But personally, I still want my items to look like, my item descriptions to look like they were written for a human rather than for a robot. So I try to just incorporate the keywords into the title, into the tags, and then somewhat into the body of the description. So and another way that you can refine that is like once you kind of have an idea of what your market is going to be and like what kinds of things you're going to be selling, you can do some test searches. So use the keywords, that's the cat making noises. Use the keywords that you think customers will use to find your products. And so say it's food illustration, do a search for food illustration and see, am I coming up on the front page or maybe the second page, but ideally the first page. And if you're not, then, which you probably won't at first, so that's fine, it takes time. Then take a look at the other people who are coming up on that front page. How are they structuring their listing titles? What kinds of information are they including in their listing descriptions? What tags are they using? What are their product photos like? So try to kind of take what you can, learn what you can from those people, and then also see how you can stand out from them. But yeah, if somebody is showing up on the first page of a search, that means they're doing something right. So it's definitely worth taking a look and seeing what you can learn from that person. And next question, Allison Ranieri asks, how have you found you've gained traction in terms of steady sales? I'd say it's probably some mix of everything we just covered. So having solid, well-researched listing titles, descriptions, and tags, having a good number, the right number of listings, and updating those listings, either the existing listings or updating your shop with new listings, doing that regularly, and then sharing the listings themselves and sharing your process for making things on social media. Okay guys, we are in the home stretch. Here is the last question. This is from Haley at Waxwing. What would you suggest to somebody who wants to open an Etsy shop? Where should I start? So I'm not going to get into all of the nitty-gritty of how to open an Etsy shop, what to do to get started, just because there is a lot to go over, and then also because Etsy themselves already have a lot of really great help articles that you can easily find just by searching, Google or something. But I'll just give a list of the basic things that I think you need to do before you can open an Etsy shop. So this would be like the starting point, I guess. So number one is to figure out what you're going to sell and how you're going to make it. Number two is to figure out your niche, which is the category that you're going to be in on Etsy. So like you're going to be in jewelry, you're going to be in art, you're going to be in clothing, vintage, new, whatever. Number three is to research other sellers in that same category, which we have already talked about a little bit. So like what are their prices? How do they do shipping? How have they set up their listings? What can you learn from them and how can you stand out? Number four is to determine your product pricing and shipping. And number five, purchase shipping supplies. So you want to have all of that ready to go before you open shop. Number six is make your shop branding, including your banner, icon, and any photos that you're going to use in the shop about page. Number seven is to write your shop policies and about page. And again, that would be something that you can like look around and see how have other people done it. And there are a huge variety of ways to approach that. Some people have like almost nothing in their policies and about page, and it seems to work okay for them. Personally, I feel like I need to have a good amount of information in mine because it's just easier than when I get questions, I can refer people to that, or ideally they'll read them before they ask the question. But yeah, figure out what you want to do with that and have that all ready to go again before you open shop. Number eight, take some good product photos or scans, figure out what you're going to do for your listing photos. And number nine is to actually set up your listings with the descriptions, with the photos, with the tags, all of that, and organize any shop sections if you're going to do that. And at that point, you should be ready to open your shop. So that is all going to be in the description box. All of those things are going to be in the description box below in case you want to copy that for your own records and kind of use it as a starting point for opening your shop. And if you, like I said, if you want to know any more detail about any of those things, just search them on Etsy or on Google, and tons of stuff will come up. Yeah, so that is about it, finally. So I hope this video was helpful and that you guys enjoyed it. If it was, if you did, please be sure to hit the thumbs up and to subscribe to my channel. I'll also be doing more Q&As in the future, so be sure you're following me on Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, etc., so that you have a chance to submit your questions. Yeah, and thank you for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!